The Microsoft Surface Pro really surprised me with how good it actually is. I remember I bought the first Surface 2-in-1 by Microsoft a couple of years ago, and to be honest with you, it was bad. Performance was not good, the keyboard really sucked, and the battery life was just horrendous. And eventually, it just died. So when Microsoft offered to lend me their new Surface Pro for a review, I wanted to see how much they had improved over these couple of years, and long story short, I'm very impressed. So in this video, I figured we'll take a look at 5 pros and cons with the Surface Pro. But before we get into those, let's take a look at the specifications of the laptop. This specific model I have is equipped with the cobalt blue type cover. It's also the i7 model paired with 16 gigs of RAM and a 0.5 terabyte SSD. Now this specific configuration will cost you $2,200, so it's definitely not cheap. With that said though, let's get started with the 5 pros and then get into the 5 cons. First up is just the overall build and design. And I've gotta say, they have done a phenomenal job choosing the materials and designing the Surface Pro. Everything from the stand to the shell of the laptop itself feels extremely sturdy and well designed. And I really like how the keyboard, when not in use, acts like a really high quality screen cover. And going from laptop mode to tablet mode is as simple as just pulling the type cover off. There's no buttons to do it, just pull it off. Next up is Windows Hello for logging in. This is seriously a feature I think every new Windows laptop should have. It's so easy to use, just set it up once and every time you open the laptop, it'll take you straight to the desktop in a matter of milliseconds. My third pro with the Surface Pro is how well it acts as a laptop. And even though by definition the Surface Pro is more of a tablet, it still works very well in laptop mode with the type cover. Now that's thanks to the high quality and very sturdy stand, and also just the fact that the keyboard and trackpad feels like they should on a great laptop. The trackpad, for example, is on par with my MacBook Pro's trackpad, which believe me, I haven't been able to say about any other Windows machine before, and the keyboard has a fairly long travel distance, great quick controls, and just a very nice feel to it. Number 4 on my list is that awesome display. And while it doesn't have the super thin bezels like on the XPS laptops from Dell, and it isn't 4K or OLED, it looks so good and the touch functionality works so well. Don't get me wrong though, it's still got a pretty high resolution of 2736 by 1824. And if you think that resolution seems a bit weird, that's because it has a 3:2 aspect ratio display, which I think is actually fantastic on a laptop/tablet like this one. Number 5 on my list of significant pros with the Surface Pro is its awesome battery life. It really surprised me how good of a battery life I got with it. Even with the highest spec i7 model and 16 gigs of RAM paired to that awesome display, keep in mind also that the entirety of the computer is behind the display. It doesn't even have an extra battery inside of the type cover like for example on the Dell 7285's keyboard part has. So number wise, I got around 7 to 10 hours of use with the laptop before it died. Now that's awesome. So with the pros done, let's get into the cons, starting with the port selection. It only has one full-size USB port, a headphone jack, a mini display port, and of course the charging port. Now you can expand this with a dock that you connect to the charging port, but the dock is very expensive and you can only get one dock, the one that Microsoft makes. So my ideal port selection would be something like 2 full-size USB ports, a headphone jack, an SD card reader, and 2 USB Type-C Thunderbolt 3 ports, and you could use one of them as a charging port. That would, in my opinion, be the ideal port selection for this laptop. Next up, I would have loved to see different colors available, and I mean the actual tablet itself and not the type covers. Now I do realize that this is a huge nitpick and doesn't matter at all. The Surface Pro is actually really that good, so I can only complain about these small things. So in terms of color choices, I would have loved to see a matte black one, a space gray one, and also the colors available on the Surface laptop like burgundy, cobalt blue, etc. Next up is the speakers, And while they're not horrible, they're not very good either. So don't expect them to be on the level of the new MacBook Pros, for example. My fourth con with the Surface Pro is the camera and inbuilt microphone. They kinda suck. And yeah, I know most of you don't care about that, and to be honest with you, I don't really either, but it's still a con. Now, my last con with it is the price. And that's because, well, to put it lightly, it's not cheap by any means. This model, as mentioned before, costs a whopping $2,200 and features a dual-core CPU. So as a conclusion, the Surface Pro is a great 2-in-1 laptop, probably even the best one I've ever used. The build quality is amazing, the type cover is great, and so is battery life. However, the port selection is weak, and it has a pretty steep price tag for a dual-core machine. So let me know what you guys think of the Surface Pro in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you loved it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.